Cosatu says President Cyril Ramaphosa should refuse a 4% salary increase. The Independent Commission for the Remuneration of Public Office Bearers made that recommendation. For more on this, we're joined by Cosatu's Mike Shingange. Mike, good evening. Thanks very much for your time. Why should the executive refuse this increase?
Good evening, and thank you for having us. Look, if you consider that these very same public representatives are the people who have recently been harping on the fact that the public wage bill is so huge, to an extent that when workers in the public service were requesting for a salary increase, they went on even as recently as the medium-term budget policy statement. It said that we are bloated and we can't be able to receive a percentage. We don't understand why now all of a sudden the very same people who, through their policy choices, have brought the economy of the country to what it is, they think that they deserve to receive a 4% hike. In fact, we are not only calling that, we are also calling the fact that we don't think the so-called independent commission, it is in fact independent because it's formed of judges that themselves are supposed to be beneficiary to this increase. Should the president accept that? We think that if we are serious about keeping what is called the public wage bill, we should start there at the public representatives. We're sitting here today with ESCOM that is almost going to retrench workers, SABC, SAA that's going to retrench workers for policy choices that were made by the very same public representatives who today wants to give themselves a 4%, something that they did not believe that public servants a year ago deserved when they went on the wage negotiations. They were actually bringing an inflation minus 1%. In other words, there was not supposed to have been an increase on the public servants. So we're thinking that if we are serious about accountability in terms of the economy where it is, we should start at that level by tightening the belt.
But the workers, public sector workers, did get their increase in terms of the of your negotiated remuneration package. So why shouldn't they? Executive.
They did get an increase after a very hard-fought negotiations that took more than 18 months.
And it wasn't 4%?
It wasn't 4%. It wasn't
much higher than that?
No, it's not. In fact, the government came to those negotiations, says we shouldn't get an increase. In fact, we should get a minus increase. In other words, we must get the inflation minus 1%. After a very hard-fought negotiations, the workers did get. But what we are saying is that as late as last week, we hear all of them, the public representative, insinuating the fact that there's a bloated public service, there's a high wage bill. We have been saying from where we stand, the wage bill is actually at that level of the public representatives and their staff that is there. We don't think that they deserve any increase, in particular not as a 4%. When we look at where the inflation is now, we don't think they deserve a 4%. We don't think the people, remember, we sit there together with the employer, we negotiate. With the people who sat in a commission that is supposed to be independent to determine the wage increase are not independent, are people who are supposed to, and otherwise they're determining their own increase. We cannot allow that. We are saying there are parastatals that are in dire need of financial injections that are supposed to close down or retrench workers now. The government as a major shareholder that have been saying they don't agree with the retrenchment should inject money in order to save jobs there. Instead of saving jobs, they want to give themselves a salary increase while they're retrenching workers. We're saying that the president shouldn't accept that recommendation.
Interesting that you're saying that these are the same people who have made the policy choices that have brought the country to where it is right now. And these people are your allies. You sit with them regularly. Do you raise these issues with them?
We've always raised it with
And what do they have to say for themselves?
We've always raised with them. In fact, if at an alliance point of view, because we're talking about public representatives who sit in government, who make laws in government, but at the level of the policy making where the alliance meets in conferences, there's virtually not much differences. The problem is that they are not capable of implementing progressive decisions that come from their own conferences. The trajectory that the country is in now in terms of economic direction is not as what the alliance will have resolved. And that's why we're saying, for instance, you're sitting with people in parliament who are going to watch SABC retrench. But when you meet them in political circles, when you meet them in their meeting, there's an agreement that they don't agree with the retrenchment, but they can't do anything. They can intervene. The money that was supposed to inject there to save jobs are the money that must now give them a salary.
What then is the point of being in an alliance with people who you say are making policy choices that go against what you're about?
Well, that's a discussion, I'm sure, for another day. We are in alliance politically. We are here. We are prosecuting a national democratic revolutions that they started long time ago when we were fighting for the struggle for liberation in this country. Therefore, we think that the alliance is still strategic, it's still necessary in order to make sure that South Africa is transformed. We are not saying there are not many other things that we have been able to agree with the alliance. We are not saying that there are no decisions that have been taken that we've taken jointly. But all we are saying is that at this point in time, we've made a call that this is a wrong choice that we are doing. For instance, they've been overseeing a decaying of the state-owned enterprises as this fifth parliament that is about to exit now. They have not been intervening. The only thing that they know is that perhaps they then retrench workers in ESCOM, in SAPC, and everywhere else. And perhaps must cut. You remember that recently they were saying there must be a voluntary severance package to public servants because they want to set public servants home. But they themselves are not retrenching themselves. They themselves are not cutting salary. They themselves are not giving themselves a severance package. It is at this point in time that they want to give something that they will consider even above inflation salary increase. Even
more reason you need to come back so that we can have that discussion.
Given their packages, they don't deserve a 4% hike.
Okay, that's where we're going to leave it. Thanks very much, Mike, for coming through. Cosatu's Mike Shingange.